One of the things for writers, I think it's important that you continue to read. Many times, I think as writers, we are so caught up in our own story. And sometimes, like if you're like me, I jump from one story to the next. Once I finish one, I jump to the next. But I also juggle multiple story projects at the same time. And I've gone back and forth about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I even did a video about that a few weeks back. Discussing whether that was really good on my part to juggle multiple projects. I think it is. It's good for me. It may not work for everybody, but it does work for me. And so I'm going to continue to do that. But I also want to continue to read, because as I read, I get a chance to see the good and bad that writers are doing, especially established, published writers that have been published in a mainstream way. Get to see what they're doing well. How are they telling their stories? How are they setting things up? How is their pace in their story? And how can I take what I'm learning from them through the reading process and apply it to my story? Because one of the things that I really like is a certain type of pace, like a faster, smoother pace that's not herky-jerky, something that's really a smooth ride, and you're going up and you're really on a nice ascension toward something that's going to be beneficial to the reader. And so I really try to get that good pace, and part of how I learn how to pace is by reading other writers. Some are really mainstream writers, big mainstream writers that a lot of people would just instantly know if you mention their name. But I also like to read maybe lesser established writers, even self-published writers too. I read a lot of self-published books. I look for kind of diamonds in the rough. You look and see what other people are doing in terms of their storytelling. One of the things that I wanted to work on with my novels that I write is I wanted to really work on getting off to a faster start, getting a hook in the reader right off the bat. And that's something that I think as you read more and more, and you read different types of authors and you read different genres, if you can do that. Some people really stick to maybe one or two genres, and others really just look for a good story, regardless of genre. And so that's something that, individuals are going to have to decide for themselves. But I would encourage you to look at other genres that you might not read. I'm not a big science fiction type person, but I do read some science fiction from time to time. For the Hunger Games trilogy was a little bit different for me. It's not something that I would normally have read, but I really enjoyed reading it. I read Hunger Games and I really, really liked it. And then Catching Fire was just a natural progression. And then Mockingjay, of course, after that. And so I finished the trilogy and I really enjoyed it. It was different than, again, what I would normally read. And it's not necessarily something that I would write, though I've had kicked some ideas like that around in my head that I might actually start to put start to type out a little bit to maybe flesh out and see if that's a direction that I want to go in at some point too. And so, but it's important to keep reading and reading and reading and read different types of writers, because writers have different styles and different genres are important to read as well. And that's only going to help your writing by continuing to read others, established authors with impeccable credentials, and also maybe lesser authors that maybe aren't getting the attention but are doing good stuff. And so look for things that interest you as you're looking through Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or you're in an actual real bookstore, for those of you who still do that. Find authors that are interesting to you and read them, learn from them, take what you can and apply it to what you're doing.